In This League Podcast Network.
What's up, friends? Let's break this league right here. It's not break this league. It is bet this league. Bet this league on In This League. Live on the YouTube to give you guys a little bit of a head start. If you're not listening, if you are listening on the podcast, you can jump over to there. But the YouTube gets it. Then it's going to the podcast. It is super duper wild card weekend with Saturday, with Sunday, and a Monday game. Bogman and I, we are going to be going through some best bets. We're not picking all the games, but we are telling you if there are any sides that we like. We're going to go through our props, maybe a couple crazy calls for the weekend. If you're ready to get weird, we are ready to get weird with you on some bets. That's Bogman. I'm Welsh. Bogman, your Steelers are up on Saturday. You are doing a live stream on Fantasy Pros on Saturday morning. So the Chargers game. Then you're going to have about a half to recoup yourself. And then you're going to be jumping in to watching your Steelers face the Ravens in what is assuredly either going to make the best weekend or the worst weekend.
I mean, we'll see. It starts tonight, too, with the Longhorns playing Ohio State. So got a busy weekend. I'm going to record a War Room show with CK before my live stream as well. So lots going on this weekend. But we're here for it. We're ready for it. And we're ready to talk some bets here for the wild card weekend. So much fun. Let's take this money and go to the Oregon Trail, Welsh.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a crew of different things here. What we like across the entire weekend as far as sides, our favorite props. I've talked about some of these props on Fantasy Pros, some touchdown calls, and then just kind of crazy. Any of the bigger crazy bets. I'll tell you, I have some stuff that's, I'm not even talking about on this, like some couple first touchdown parlay things just for funsies. You put a couple bucks on and have fun, but couple long shots, touchdown calls, props, and sides. We're going to do all of that for this betting super duper wildcard weekend. Just know you guys can also go to inthisleague.com if you want. We posted this as far as the live stream goes. Is this up on the YouTube? So anybody on the YouTube channel could check it out. But we post it specifically to the Group Me room where we've got our entire community. You can join up today, get access to ranks. We've got our Bet This League room. We've got an amazing community and a whole bunch of other great features. We also did a live show. We're doing live shows on Wednesdays right now where we did 2 hours. We had a blast. So if you guys want to support the boys, go and check us out over on the Patreon today. inthisleague.com will take you. inthisleague.com. I think I even still have a banner. Yeah, look at that right there. You can join the ITL Army today. inthisleague.com. Bogman, bunch of games. There's a couple bets I love on the prop market. There's a couple really fun places to go. And surprisingly, I shy away from sides a ton. I'm not like the biggest, spread or over under. You play, especially in the college world, you play like a ton of like over unders on totals and stuff like that. But there are some good stuff. There's some pretty good lines this weekend to get down with. You for yourself kind of ran through your entire card. But let's start with like the sides. What's your favorite side bets, totals or spreads? Or you can even go to like, you're playing something on the money line or you're teasing like that type of thing on game totals.
I really only have two on the game lines, and I like to lay the points to 3 with the Chargers. I just think that the Chargers and the Texans come in playing, 2 different ways. I feel like the Chargers are surging right now. They're looking really good. Justin Herbert looks so healthy. And both sides of the ball have kind of been difficult for the Texans recently. They are at home, which is a nice benefit towards them. And, I know the Chargers and the Rams obviously have a lot on their mind with what's going on in LA right now. But I just think that this Chargers team is kind of peaking. I don't know if their best is good enough to get through like a Kansas City or Buffalo. But I do know that they're playing very well right now. So I'm going to take them and lay the points on the road against the Texans in this game. The playoffs sometimes become a different season. Maybe we'll see the Texans that we saw early in the season or the Texans that we expected, but from where? Based on what? You know what I mean? It can always happen. It's the playoffs in any given Sunday, but I just don't like it. And the other bet that I really like this weekend on the game specifically is Washington at Tampa Bay over 50.5. I just think that the way that Baker is playing with Mike Evans and the way that Jalen McMillan has dropped in here for Chris Godwin, the run game working with your boy Bucky Irving. I know you're like the number one Bucky Irving fan now. I just think the way that offense has been operating has been strong, and Jane Daniels looks so good, and the Tampa Bay secondary is weak. They're allowing the most completions to quarterbacks per game this season. So I think that this game is in line for a shootout. The other games, I don't know. I have leans, but I don't really love any of the other ones. So what are the ones from the game lines that you like this weekend?
I got a couple, messing around with a few things. So my favorites here, I also like the Chargers. So Chargers -3, so that might be dangerous. That's something I'm definitely in on. CJ Stroud just worries me in general with his inconsistencies, and I'm just not buying that. I think the Chargers are running on a lot of fronts. With that, I have a money line parlay, Chargers and Bills. So this is because I think those are both the Saturday games. So that's a Saturday play. Chargers, Bills, money line. It's essentially even money. It's like -106. I don't know where you can take it. You could also scoot around with lines if you want. You could, go -2.5, and you probably get a little bit of better odds. But just straight up money line, Chargers and Bills, I like. I talked about this on Betting Pros. I will tell you, it floats between bet and lean, but Green Bay and Philadelphia under 45.5. I think it has on paper the feels of a game that's going to be this big explosive game. Jalen Hurts just got lifted from concussion protocol and he's out there. But we went months of talking about the Eagles as becoming this one-dimensional team. And then they kind of got it figured out a little bit and started throwing the ball, but you're coming off of the concussion, which maybe, you're going to have a little less tush push, a little less Jalen Hurts on that. He also still wasn't throwing super great. You've got riding this on the back of Saquon Barkley. You've got on the Green Bay side, all of a sudden, Jalen Love, they don't trust to throw, or Jordan Love. They don't trust him to throw the ball.
Well, he has an arm injury right now too.
And
he
that's
got hurt in the
obviously
last game.
Clearly part of it, that they do not trust him going out there. They lost Christian Watson, their big deep threat. And you've got two defenses that are in the top 6 in lowest points allowed. So I think this game is going to be on the ground. And I think on 45.5 under, it's nice. It actually is a bad taste in my mouth because we literally just bet Notre Dame and Penn State 45.5, and it had 13 points, I think, going into the third quarter, and then it smashed over. So that worries me. But that one's floating out there. And then I just like Minnesota. It's a pretty close line. Obviously, Rams can get scary if all things are going, but I think that's the same play with Minnesota. So I like Minnesota -1.5. Those are 4 plays. And again, I think you could take the Chargers and Bills tease. I think there's a ton of tease pieces this week. And I think the Steelers are a potential tease because you can tease them up to 15.5.
Yeah.
Buffalo, you could tease. I talked about this, just it's not on my card, but Pittsburgh plus 15.5 teased with Buffalo, which would take them down to -2.5. I really like that as a tease piece, but these are my 4 pieces of actual sides.
Which one would you were more worried to lose on that tease? If you tease them both, would it be that Pittsburgh just gets blown out? Would it be that Denver could potentially beat Buffalo?
I mean, it's probably going to be the Buffalo one, but I would tell you Pittsburgh getting absolutely blown out.
I could see it too. I mean,
destroyed.
Unfortunately, okay, all right, calm down.
Well, I'm just saying that's what it would be.
I get it. You can calm down though.
But 2 touchdowns. It's over 2 touchdowns. So.
And by the way, the Buffalo-Denver game is the early game on Sunday. Only 2 games tomorrow. That's the early game on Sunday. They do the other 2 NFC, and then they have the Monday game is the Rams and Vikings. So
exactly. So those are the side pieces. Let's talk about props for the weekend. Boggs, why don't you throw out some of your favorites? I know you got a bunch. Well, at the end, you can go through the ones that didn't make the cut as far as your favorites, but what are the favorites on the props for you this weekend?
So my 5 favorite props, we'll start with a couple quarterback ones. Let's go to Bo Nix over 26.5 rushing yards. It's -110. He had that weird stretch in the middle of the season where he wasn't running, and you kind of pointed it out because I was like, I like this Bo Nix over. And you're like, he hasn't been running. I'm like, but he can at any time. And he has been the last month. He has been putting a lot on there. And I just think that if you're Bo Nix, if you're the Broncos, I think Buffalo's going to win this game kind of going away. So I think there's going to be a lot of desperation from Bo Nix. So I think he's going to get out and have to run a lot.
I had this one. I had this one on my card. It was going to make it on Betting Pros, but it was 22.5, and it is skyrocketed up to 26.5. It's still palatable, but it's just the cushion taking that away from me. I took it off. I will say one of the positives is Buffalo is giving up around 5 yards per carry to quarterbacks right now. So if Bo Nix is in the 6 to 7 carry territory, that's a pretty good sign for him to take this. And I believe he smashed, maybe not this 26, but that 22.5, he had hit like 4 straight weeks. He's running again. But I moved off of this because that number went up so much.
You know what we want for this bet is we want the Broncos to have the ball at the end of both halves, right? So that maybe Bo Nix can bail out when he's getting pressured, run one up the middle, slide, get a first down, and pick up like 10 in a chunk there. And we want Denver, which is most likely to be down in the fourth quarter for most of the fourth quarter by like 10 or more points too. I can easily see that happening. So I like a lot of props with Bo Nix this week.
I'm looking at your card, Bugs. Oh my God. I don't know if you listen to the show. The next one you have, it's my number one of the week. It's
my favorite. It's my favorite as well.
It's my number one. And the next one after that, I talked about on Betting Pros as a side that I would put to my Bucky Irving stuff. I just noticed that I look, those two bets
I didn't listen to anything you did this week either. So I love that great minds are thinking alike here. Jaden Daniels over 22.5 completions. This is my favorite. I did get it earlier at 21.5. So I like that a little bit better. But as I mentioned before in the over on that Tampa Bay and Washington game, Tampa Bay is giving up the most completions per game. And I just think that Washington is going to be able, I think they'll be able to run on third downs. I know that's been brought up a lot on different shows this week. Washington gives up a lot of rushing yards on third downs, Tampa Bay does. But I do think that this is going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of shootout, a lot of clock stoppages, and a long game. I think this is the late game on Sunday. I think this one is going to go till the wee hours here. So I think it's going to be a long game. I think we're going to see a lot of offensive plays. I love Jaden Daniels to go over 22.5 because Tampa Bay really can't stop the pass right now. So that is number 2. The third one that you said you mentioned as a side, Bucky Irving longest rush over 17.5 yards. I love this one because I think Bucky is going to get 1 million carries in this game. I think he's going to get so many touches. And if he does, he can get this at any point. We know he's an explosive back. And if he has that ball late, I think, against a worn out Washington defense, like I said, I think that we're going to see a lot of incomplete passes and the clock stopping a bunch, which leads to more plays and the defense is wearing out late. I like Bucky Irving to hit a big one in this game. That one, the juice is not great. It's minus 125, but it is one of my favorites of the week. And I have my last ones, my receiving props here. Khalil Shakir over 5.5 receptions. It's plus money right now at 115, which I think is good. I mean, I know that's a lot of receptions and everything, but for Khalil Shakir, the only spot that is very safe to throw to against Denver is in the slot against Jaquan McMillan. You don't want to mess with Surtain. You don't want to mess with Riley Moss out on the edge. So I think Shakir is going to get fed. And he's also, I read this in an Athletic article Diana Rossini put out this morning. He is the most targeted Buffalo receiver on third downs. His target share is like almost 30% on third down. So, look for Shakir in the slot against McMillan on those third downs. I think he gets a ton of catches in this game. And let's go with Jalen McMillan over 53.5 receiving yards because they played this game already. Tampa Bay smacked Washington. I don't expect it to be the exact same type of game, but they gave up a ton to Chris Godwin in that game. And Mikey Sanders still has moved towards the edge. He's playing on the outside. He's the best corner by a wide margin, the rookie out of Michigan. But they have moved him to the outside because they've had so many injuries. So we've had, I believe it's Miles Bryant playing the slot here. So I think that we're going to see a lot of receptions and yards from Jalen McMillan as well. So a couple slot receivers are a couple of my favorites here to pair with Jaden Daniels at Bucky Irving long and the Bo Nix over on the rushing yards.
Yeah, as a note, anyone watching on YouTube, you have 55 on Jalen, but you said 53. So probably 53. It was 51 about a day ago. So that one has also gone up. That was an Erickson special. So that one's on the move. But yeah, funny. There are 3 that I'm in line with. Those top 3 are ones that I definitely like. What is on my card? I've got Ladd McConkey over 72. It's actually bounced between 71 and 72 receiving yards. Wide receiver cornerback matchup, second best according to PFF this weekend. He has hit this in 6 of 7 games of his last 7 games, and he's had 6 or more receptions in 5 of his last 7 games. The note, I believe I said this on Pros, and I told you, one of my favorite thing is his receptions are implied to 6. So it's 5.5, and it's like minus 135 or something stupid. He has never not hit this receiving yard total when catching 6 or more receptions. So if he catches 6 passes and the receptions hit, he will smash these receiving yards. But it's a better play, especially as he's been going deeper and whatnot. Really like Ladd McConkey for this week on the receiving yards. Number 2 on the list, what do I have on the screen for people? Justin Jefferson receptions. That's on Monday, 6.5. He has had 9 or more targets in 4 straight games, though he got cooked in that last one with only 3 catches. He had hit this 6.5 over receptions in 5 straight games prior to that Lions game. So he's got the 9 targets. He just didn't get them last time, but he had been hitting them 5 straight games. So I like this for Justin Jefferson. George Pickens, longest reception. This one has moved up. It was around 23.5. It moved up, I believe, to like 25.5. We're still in play here, though, because prior to his last game where he had nothing, he had 8 straight games where he had a 30-yard reception or more for George Pickens. That's huge. 11 of 14 games. This stat I'm giving you is against the 23.5, so I might be off one game since it moved up 2 yards, but he had hit 11 of 14 games, this longest reception prop overall. And by the way, last time he played the Ravens, he had 12 targets and he had a longest reception of 37 yards. So, what do I see? I see Russell Wilson with defender in his face, slings it to the left side of the field. George Pickens over the receiver is going to get a 30-yarder. It's what he does. This is a good longest reception play.
Honestly, the only way I think Pickens doesn't hit that is if he's in full crybaby mode during the
and he just drops everything. If he just keeps dropping everything, then what can we do? Exactly.
Yeah.
Bucky Irving, longest rushes in play. I like the over rushing yards, 86.5. I'm actually going to take a look if this has moved at all. His rushing attempts are at 16.5. I think that's in play right now. It looks like his yards have gone up to 88.5. Longest rush in play. I'd also thrown out, you could do alt rushing yards plus a touchdown for Bucky, and you can get close to 2-1. If you want to play that, it's probably a little bit less now that his rushing yards have gone up, but I just love Bucky this week. 15 to 20 carries he has had over the last month, at least in each game. And Washington is giving up the 4th most rushing yards to running backs on the year, 6th most over the last month. So you can just run on this team. And then, as mentioned, Jaden Daniels is just my favorite of this week, and we both came across it. I'll also throw out to you, his pass attempts are at 31.5. That's probably in play. But if you don't count last week when he got pulled, and we're looking at the 22.5, he has had 24 or 25 completions in 5 straight games. By the way, 8 of his last 9 games, he's attempted 30 or more passes. And you had mentioned Bucks are giving up the most completions. So the Jaden Daniels one is it's my favorite. I went 2 units on it. I love it this weekend. And if it's still pass attempts at 31.5, I'm going to hit that. If it's moving up, I don't know. We'll see. But I think, that the completion rate makes me feel comfortable. I also think the Bucks could take some early leads, and I love having Eckler back. I just love that one. So you and I are both on that. That's kind of a squad ride to it. Let's go to touchdowns. Anytime touchdown bets for the week. I'm going to just throw out, I'm kind of boring this week. I am playing around with some first touchdowns, which I'm going to tell you about. We're going to go our deep plays and unofficial card plays. There's plenty of fun touchdown calls for sure. Dontavian Wicks, I think, would be one if I was going deeper and I wanted to play. Tucker Kraft is another one of those.
The way you said that was the most let's not get too cute. It was very much, there's a lot of fun ones, that is, let's not get too cute. I'm with you. Mine are also pretty boring.
Yeah. I mean, I told you, like Erickson likes to have fun, his bet. I always know he's going to have some plus 750. I just don't do that a lot. That's just not my mode.
Well, the nice thing is one of those hits, and you can do them again for 6 straight weeks, right? Because you have the money. So,
same thing can happen if you hit a first touchdown. I'm more likely to hit and play first touchdowns than I am for Hayden Hurst to score a touchdown at 1,400, or 14-1. Like, that's just
reason,
not my speed.
The only reason I don't like first touchdown is because we don't know who's starting with the ball before we place that bet.
Well, yeah,
and the scripted drives are the ones that they work on all week. They're the most likely drive to score the entire game. So I don't know.
I love them.
They're just not my favorite. So, but
I didn't like them either.
Though.
I have. I mean, I had
Yeah.
that huge Addison and Jefferson one. I've hit Likely, and I hit Derrick Henry. I've actually hit 3 in the last 2 weeks. One was a parlay and 2 were solos.
I like them better. Like, if you were picking anybody for Baltimore to be the first, because the Steelers offense has been so miserable, right? Same thing with Houston. Like, if you're picking a Chargers guy to hit the first touchdown because Houston's offense has been so miserable, I like it more than that. Because, are you picking a first touchdown in Washington, Tampa, right? Because both teams can score.
Yeah, and I don't have one.
That's not my favorite. So I do. They're conditional to me, which limits the amount.
I don't think I've ever seen you bet one. I like to bet them sometimes. You don't bet them, but I
bet them on underdog and stuff sometimes, but not much on straight. So
my point is I'm more likely to play first touchdowns than I am Van Jefferson to score a touchdown. So total, my point is mine are kind of boring. Plus money play, Lad McConkey, anytime touchdown. I told you, I think this is a great matchup. PFF is lining it to a great matchup. He's scoring a bunch of touchdowns. I love that one. Bucky Irving, but here's a problem. I don't like the juice. It's minus 145 for a touchdown. Bucky is part of something I might lay. I'd also singularly be comfortable betting a Josh Allen touchdown. And frankly, I might bet a first touchdown on Josh Allen because I can absolutely see that being something he's running in. One I forgot to put on here. I still like Mark Andrews. I kind of like Mark Andrews in this. I've done pretty well with the Ravens. Funny enough, 2 first touchdowns with their, I know, for 2 first touchdowns with the Ravens, I've bet. I hit Likely and Henry, and now I'm going in another direction. But Mark Andrews is 6 straight games with a touchdown. He's a freaking monster right now. There is no Zay Flowers. So that one is plus money. Those are kind of my commonplace touchdowns. And Bucky, I'm putting in a lay. I've also got one with Bucky and Saquon. I think Bucky is probably my favorite touchdown parlay piece. Solo, McConkey, and Josh Allen are probably what I'm going to go with. All right, what do you got for your touchdown calls?
Like I said, mine are pretty boring as well. Nico Collins plus 135. I just think he's the one thing that has been consistent when he's healthy all year long for the Texans. I think they're going to try to get him the ball 15 times in this game. I think his receptions are in play as well. I think he's going to have 1 million targets. And if there's anyone most likely to score a touchdown for the Texans, it is Nico by a wide margin, I think. So plus 135, I think is a pretty decent number. Then I'm going to go to the other shootout I think that's going to happen in Minnesota and LA. And I just think that, you have 2 of these top end quarterbacks right now. I know Sam Darnold looked miserable last week, but I think he's going to get back on track against the Rams here. Jefferson minus 115 and Puka is getting plus money right now, plus 110. I really like those numbers as well. My deep shots that I guess I would say, my favorite ones, Amari Cooper's plus 380, kind of like that, just because I think maybe Buffalo runs it up. I think they could score a lot early. And Zach Ertz is plus 255, but he didn't practice again. So Ben Sinnott is plus 1,000 right now. Don't hate that. I think we could see him get a decent amount of snaps if Ertz is down. So just pay attention to that. But I like those. In Tucker Kraft plus 250, I don't hate. Just not
Tucker Kraft is one I like. Jefferson and Kraft would be others. Again, if I just think that's looking for touchdown pieces.
So that's why I didn't put it as my favorite. So, Najee plus 190. I mean, if they get to the goal line, those are a couple other sprinkles I might throw in, but yeah, those are my favorite.
Last up, I know Bogman has a bunch of stuff that didn't make his official that he's going to play. I'm calling these just deeper plays or feels. I've got just a couple crazy ones. I'm not advocating for you, but they're just a couple places I'm on. Lad McConkey first touchdown, 8-1 right now. I love when you get those first touchdowns at 10-1. That I got a likely one at 17-1, but I've also hit Henry at 5-1 recently. Lad McConkey. I would also say one thing I have done in some spots, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's really funny. Places like DK, they'll do this bet. It's a scam to do it, where it's like you can bet this guy and this guy to score a first touchdown, but then it'll be like plus 1.5. So it'll be like Nico Collins and Ladd, either one of them to score, you win your bet, but you get crap odds. That's stupid. What you go and do is go bet them individually. And if you're like, well, I only want to bet $50 or whatever you do, split it in half and play. You have much better odds. If you played those two, they're both 8-1. So it's like you take off a little bit of the upside of what you return, but you can, in theory, I would actually play both of those guys because I think Nico and Ladd are both in play. I just personally like Ladd for first touchdown. I mentioned I've got a Barkley and Bucky anytime touchdown little mini parlay. It's close to 2-1. It's like 1.5-1 for both of them to score in any time. And then also I mentioned I like Mark Andrews in general. Mark Andrews' first touchdown is plus 750. And I had Likely in there before. He's plus 1,200. I just really like Mark Andrews in this. So those are a couple of the just deeper, wider, crazier plays. I'm not even throwing out all the other stuff. Like I said, I've done some goofier things, but specifically, I'm going to bet the Ladd and the Andrews first touchdown just a little tiny bit. And I've already bet the Barkley and Bucky stuff. So those are not official calls, just some fun side lays. Bogman, you had a whole bunch of things that were thrown out there that you're just going to kind of plow through that didn't make your card.
Yeah, I won't go through all of them, but there's a couple of quarterback ones I like. I don't do a lot of unders, but I like the under 37.5 Jalen Hurts rushing yards just because I think he just came out of concussion protocol. You're expecting to win this game and move on, right? So you probably don't want him running so much to kind of save him. So I don't think they want to run him too much in this game. So I'll go with the under on his. Bo Nix over 229.5 passing yards. It might have bumped up a little bit since I looked at it. I just think Bo Nix is going to have to do so much for the Broncos to win that we get a nice productive day from him. So I like that one there. For running backs, Derrick Henry over 5.5 receiving yards. That's one catch for Derrick Henry. So yeah, I like that one. One catch for him, I think, is easily doable. Over 20.5 rush attempts for Saquon. Like I said, I don't think that they run a ton of Jalen Hurts. So I think Saquon's going to get as much as he can handle in this game. So I think 20.5 is easily in play for him. And then a couple wide receiver ones. I'm on the McConkey receiving yards as well. That one, I'm going to be doing that live stream for Betting Pros on Sunday with Joe for that game, the Texans and Chargers game. I picked 4 props. That's one of them. So really like that one. The George Pickens, I'm over on his yards as well. I kind of like Dontavian Wicks over 41.5 as the replacement for Christian Watson going out as the deep threat for Green Bay. I kind of like him. And then the last one I really like and just barely missed my top 5, Marvin Mims over 19.5 longest reception. This dude has been getting catches like the last month. They've been feeding him way, way more, and he's explosive. And I think they're going to have to pass a lot late. So pair that one with Bo Nix. I really like that over 19.5 for Marvin Mims longest.
Lots of ways to have fun. Lots of ways. Those are so where our lanes are. That's right. So we've got our big sides. We got touchdowns. We've got props. Those are our best bets going into wildcard weekend. Should be crazy. One upset. What's your one upset this weekend?
My one upset, Steelers over Ravens, baby.
Yeah, I know you're going to say that. I think I just don't know if it's even, but I would maybe go Commanders. I think Commanders over Tampa Bay is in play just because they are a dog technically. So that's why I'll call them an upset, but a lot of chalk out there. So you got Steelers. I've got Commanders. Those are our upsets of the week. Who do you got? Let us know. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast feed where we drop this and available on YouTube in live stream form. Just probably throw them out live. You guys can go and rewatch them, or if you're hanging out, you can be there. YouTube.com/inthisleague. Your favorite podcast app is In This League and inthisleague.com for the Patreon. You want to have access to us, the community, and more. We appreciate it. That is it. Have a fantastic weekend and enjoy your football. For Bogman, I'm Welsh. I'll talk to you next time right here on In This League.
Hook 'em.
Ouch.